Hello and welcome to Porsche Cup C6 Bank MasterCard. We are at the José Carlos Pace International Circuit, known worldwide as Interlagos, just a few kilometers away from Porsche Cup Brasil headquarters in the city of São Paulo. It's been about 3 months without racing, and here we are, back on track for the first qualifying session of the year. Drivers are eager to face each other once more as the 2023 season begins. We see there 25 degrees Celsius. The track is 29 Celsius. Carrera Cup qualifying was scheduled for yesterday, but due to heavy rain, it was transferred to this Saturday morning. Following that, we'll have qualifying for Sprint Challenge. Race 1 for both categories will be this Saturday afternoon, and race 2 will be tomorrow. I am Sergio Lago, and I'm here with Carlos Costa. Hello, Carlos. Welcome back. It's 2023 Porsche Cup C6 Bank MasterCard season.
Hi, Sergio. Very big pleasure to be here with you to broadcast one more season of the Brazilian Porsche Cup Series, the first round of the 2023 championship. As you said, the Sprint Championship. Then we will also have the endurance races. But anyway, we begin this weekend with the qualifying session for Carrera Cup, the main championship of this series, of course. As you said, due to the weather conditions we had yesterday with heavy rain and so on, we had this qualifying postponed for today's morning. But anyway, it seems that the conditions are set for a good qualifying session as we see the cars on track already. Let's wait and see if we will have rain today as well. But anyway, it seems that for this morning sessions, at least, we will have no problems. But anyway, the expectation is quite good for this qualifying session, and throughout the action, we will explain the qualifying format for you guys. So nice to be back to this broadcasts of Porsche Cup Brazil with you, Sergio.
Yes, Carlos. Right now we have 7 cars on the track. It's the rookie cars. There will be Bruno Campos, Edu Guedes, Piero Cifale, Paulo Souza, Nelson Abutaif, Gustavo Fará, and João Barbosa. So we first have this qualifying for the rookie cars. Then we have for the sport and the main Carrera Cup cars. Of course, they are all the same category. It's the Porsche Cup Carrera Cup in Brazil, but the rookie drivers, they go to the track first. Even though, Carlos, for the final session, they will count all times together. But it's good in a sense, Carlos, because these drivers are, let's say, starting in the rookie class. They are new to the Carrera Cup, so it's important for them to have a little bit more room while they are qualifying.
Yeah, that's it. And space in track as well, because of course, traffic is an issue. Let's hear from Renata Diniz, our pit reporter.
Muito bom dia, Luque Monteiro, Thiago Mendonça, meus parceiros aqui. Bom demais, olha, tá muito diferente de ontem, né? Ontem a gente saiu daqui com chuva, a pista molhada, mas agora a movimentação tá outra, o treino já começou. Inclusive, eu vou trazer todas as informações aqui de bastidores. Já estava reparando o Nicolas Costa, que fez o melhor tempo no treino livre ontem. Tava se aquecendo aqui, tá com layout novo no carro. Vamos falar com ele? Como é que tá sendo? Você já tá aquecendo o corpo aqui?
There we hear from Nicolas Costa, the pace setter in the practices of yesterday.
Fiquei bem feliz, obviamente é muito bom estar competitivo. Bom dia a todos aí que estão assistindo. O resultado foi muito positivo ontem, muito próximo, né? Muitos pilotos na casa dos 1,36. Então não vai ser fácil, a condição de pista hoje mudou muito, tá mais fresco. A chuva provavelmente lavou toda a borracha que a gente tinha colocado na pista, então isso deve afetar um pouco o acerto do carro. A gente vai tentar pensar em como se adaptar, porque é uma aposta, né? A gente não tem certeza do que tem que fazer, mas vai ser bem apertado, mas torço para sair na mesma posição que eu saí ontem.
Boa. E o Nicolas, inclusive, que participou muito aqui da Endurance com a gente, mas agora garante a temporada inteira na Sprint, certo, Nico?
Pois é, primeira temporada na Sprint, então vai ser uma aventura, um tipo diferente de corrida, né? Corridas mais curtas, mais agressivas. E muitos anos que eu não faço corridas de sprint sozinhos, porque né, tenho corrido com carro GT em dupla há muito tempo. Então vai ser um prazer e sempre estar na Porsche Cup é um prazer, na verdade, né? Mais uma vez aí.
Obrigada, Nicolas. E ele já chegou acelerando, hein, Luque?
Yeah, there we heard from Nicolas Costa. As I said, he was the fastest in the practice sessions that we had yesterday. He's a former endurance championship driver for Porsche Brazil, and now he will be driving in the sprint championship the whole season in 2023. So he celebrated this fact and he pointed something interesting, Sergio. Because of the heavy rain that we had in the end of the afternoon yesterday, the track is quite different. Of course, all that rubber that they had put in the track in the morning sessions that we had Friday, it isn't there anymore because of the rain, obviously. So it has an impact in terms of car setup as well. So it will be a challenge for all of them, but he expects to be fastest today as well, Sergio.
Yes, Nicolas Costa is a very fast driver, Carlos. Last year in the Endurance Championship, he finished fourth overall, considering the duos, okay? His car, he raced with Jeff Giassi, and they finished fourth. The champions were Christian Ham and Diego Nunes. He participated in the 3 endurance races last year, and it's nice to see him competing in the sprint races because this year we will not have Enzo Elias, who is the current sprint Porsche Cup champion in the Carrera Cup category, because Enzo Elias is going to race in Stock Car Brazil. So now we have Nicolas Costa, is a new name, Carlos, that will have to pay lots of attention during 2023.
Yeah, definitely. And that mix of drivers, in terms of age as well, is quite interesting in this series. Of course, you mentioned that Enzo Elias is a quite young driver. And of course, Nicolas is also a young driver, considering the fact that we have a lot of
Uma
experienced
palavrinha do
drivers
Lineu
in this
Pires, que
grid.
fez o melhor tempo no
But
treino
let's hear
livre de
from
ontem
Lineu
na categoria
Pires with
esporte.
Renata
Tá com
Diniz.
layout com uma cor totalmente diferente. Já deu pra tirar poeira, né, Lineu? Com esse tempinho parado aí das férias.
Deu bastante, acho que ficou um bom tempo parado, até que a adaptação é meio difícil, mas agora já fez um bom tempo ontem, é tentar repetir isso, tentar de novo o P1.
Obrigada, bom treino. Luke?
Yeah, we heard there from Lineu Pires from the sport class of the Carrera Cup Championship, and he was celebrating the fact that yesterday they were able to get used to the car once more. Of course, since the end of last year's championship, they hadn't raced in these Porsche cars of the Brazilian Porsche Cup series, but now he's already adapted once more to this car. But anyway, it's always a challenge for these drivers, especially in the opening round of the season.
We see there the car for Bruno Campos. Bruno Campos is second overall during this first qualifying session with the rookie drivers of the Porsche Carrera Cup. So it's the rookie class now that we are seeing. João Barbosa just got the best time. He has 1:37.895. Second is Paulo Souza. Then it's Bruno Campos, number 33. This is Paulo Souza, number 25, who is second overall. He is like about a tenth of a second behind João Barbosa. Oh, his overall time. So he's doing a good job. Bruno Campos is third. Then we have Gustavo Farah. Gustavo Farah, who really improved from last year. Carlos, I would say, and he's fourth overall in this rookie class. We will have lots of cars. We have 27 cars in the sprint Carrera Cup. So it's 26 cars actually in the Porsche Carrera Cup, which is like 4 more cars than last year.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you talked about improvement regarding Gustavo Farah. We heard there from example from Lineu Pires, and he's the rookie class champion of the Carrera Cup Championship from 2022. So now he's driving in the sport class. So it's always nice to see these drivers developing themselves as a driver, because of course they are able to compete with drivers of their level in terms of competitiveness, and of course they will always develop themselves throughout the season. So Lineu Pires, for example, is one of these guys.
We're about to end this first qualifying session for the rookie drivers of the Carrera Cup class. João Barbosa was the fastest. followed by Paulo Souza, Edu Guedes, Bruno Campos, Gustavo Farah, Piero Cifali, and Nelson Abultaif was the last one with Porsche number 99. Last year, Abultaif raced with the challenge, so sprint challenge. So this year he upgraded, but he's in the rookie class. After this qualifying session for the Carrera Cup, we'll have the sprint challenge qualifying. So we've seen, Carlos, many drivers moving from sprint challenge to Carrera Cup. One of them is Nasser Abultaif, Ricardo Fontanari, Nelson Marcondes, Eyman Darwich, Raijan Mascarello. All these drivers moved up from the sprint challenge to the Carrera Cup, racing with these 992s.
Yeah, and that's the natural course, we could say, of this series. Always interesting to see drivers such as Raijan Mascarello, for example, the champion of the main sprint challenge class last year, going to the Carrera Cup Championship. So it's a new challenge because, of course, theoretically, the level of competitiveness is quite big, to say the least. Of course, a lot of experienced drivers, competitive young drivers as well. We had, for example, last year, Enzo Elias. As you said, he will be driving in the Stock Car Pro Series this year, but Nicolas Costa, for example, now coming from the Endurance
A
Championship
movimentação
to
tá bem
driving the
intensa. O Lino
Sprint
Pires já tá dentro
Championship,
do
as we
carro, os
hear from
pilotos estão
Renato
entrando
Diniz once
agora.
more.
Todo mundo meio tenso aqui, viu, Luke? A hora que eu fui conversar com ele, ele falou, ó, tenho 2 minutos, eu só tenho 2 minutos. Então tá todo mundo bem intenso na expectativa desse quali, mas eu vou tentar falar com outros pilotos que estão por aqui.
Yeah, she was talking about mood, let's put it that way, in the pit lane, in the paddock, because the anticipation is quite big, because also of the fact that we didn't have the qualifying session for the Carrera Cup Championship yesterday. So all that expectation that we had for yesterday's session, we have today. And of course, it's a quite action-packed Saturday for this series with a lot of sessions, qualifying races as well. It will be interesting to see.
Yes, and they started earlier because these sessions we would have only the sprint challenge qualifying session this morning, and now we have the qualifying session for the Carrera Cup. So
Vamos falar com o João Barbosa. Com o capacete, já quero saber suas primeiras palavras. Está feliz demais com esse resultado, né?
Nossa, muito feliz, ainda mais hoje que a gente cheguei atrasado, foi uma emoção aí muito grande, então eu cheguei diretamente aqui fazer a pole, muito bom. Tive a oportunidade de fazer só uma volta e consegui encaixar. Muito feliz, primeira pole da categoria, muito feliz.
Parabéns.
Obrigado.
Luke.
Yeah, nice chat there with João Barbosa, and actually he's the pole sitter of the rookie class of the Carrera Cup Championship. We now had this qualifying session of the rookie class completed with João Barbosa ahead of the pack. Actually, it's his first pole position, so he was celebrating, of course, and actually he arrived late, so he went directly to the car, and with only one fast attempt, he was able to get this pole position, a little bit more than 1/10 ahead of Paulo Souza. So we have João Barbosa, Paulo Souza, Edu Guedes, Bruno Campos, Gustavo Farah, Piero Cifali, and Nasser Abultaif in this order in the rookie class. Sergio.
Yes, now we see the sport class going to the track. We already have in the track Nelson Marcondes, Roman Zinkiewicz, Eduardo Menossi, Fontanari, Nelson Monteiro. So there will be 13 drivers for the sport class that will hit the track. This beautiful view of the Interlagos circuit, the most well-known circuit in Brazil. It's a very, very important circuit. It's the race there. The first race has 11 turns. The record for this track is from Miguel Paludo with the time of 1:34.913, the record, of course, for Porsche Carrera Cup. And it was done in 2020, so it was held 3 years ago. Let's see now if this record, if someone gets a better time than Miguel Paludo's record. And the circuit has 4,309 meters.
And interestingly, Sergio, as you said, the record of this track with the Porsche Cup Brazil Series is with the old spec of the Carrera Cup cars. From last year, actually, we have the new spec of the car, so it will be interesting to see how they perform in this track as well.
There we see the car from Nelson Marcondes. Nelson Marcondes racing with the car 199. He's one of the drivers who is coming from the Sprint Challenge. He had a very good season last year in Sprint Challenge, so he's going to perform this year in the Carrera Cup, and he went straight to the sport class. We have now 13 cars on the track. That was Nelson Marcondes again. It's a little bit windy in Interlagos, Carlos. We can see by the images there. So it will be interesting. And as we see this beautiful, beautiful circuit, I would say it's not in the heart of city of São Paulo, Carlos, but this was when Interlagos was built. It was away from the city of São Paulo, but right now is in the middle because it became such a big city that people live all around the circuit of Interlagos. But when it was built, it was far away from downtown São Paulo.
Yeah, definitely. But as you said, the city grew, so of course we have a lot of people living quite close to this track. It's a very big city, as you said, and it's interesting because, of course, Interlagos is the venue of the Brazilian Grand Prix of Formula One, of course, and it is quite close to the downtown of the city today, as you said. It's not that common in Formula One tracks because we have a lot of tracks that are quite far from big cities. So that's an extra factor for this sensation, this special sensation that we have in Interlagos. So it's nice to mention that as well. And of course, just talking about the spec of cars, we now have the 992 generation of the Porsche cars in this championship. Until 2021 in the Carrera Cup Championship, we had the old spec of the 991-2. So now new cars. And of course, you were talking about the wind. It's an extra challenge for less experienced drivers, especially the guys from rookie class and sport class. And I would highlight how challenging it is for the guys that come from the Sprint Challenge Championship, because they are racing new cars this year. So with the wind, maybe the rain that we might have today, but we expect that it doesn't happen. But anyway, it's an extra challenge in terms of driving conditions as well, Sergio.
Yes, this is Nelson Marcondes. Right now, João Barbosa from the rookie class still has the best time, but we have to wait yet for the sport class drivers to do their best times. Nelson Marcondes will be the first one to hit the start-finish line, so we'll see how he fares against the rookie class drivers. We saw there Zinkevich as well. We saw all the cars. We have still a little bit over 4 minutes to the end of the session. Zinkevich was the fastest after he crossed the line. Nelson Monteiro with number 87 was the second fastest. Zinkevich races with the Porsche number 8. This orange, I would say this is orange, right, Carlos? Or it will be a red?
Yes.
It's orange. This orange Porsche number 8, orange and white, beautiful orange and white Porsche number 8 is from Roman Zinkevich, who right now has the best time.
And this layout is already a classic in this series. Lucas Salles' car with this green and orange design there. Also a driver that we always have to take into account in terms of let's say projecting the race result, the race wins and the podiums. And it was interesting last year because he was of course a sport class driver, but in some races he was able to compete with the guys from the main Carrera class. So that's one guy to watch in this 2023 season of the Porsche Cup Brazil Series, Sergio.
Yeah, so now Lucas Salles is the fastest driver so far, with Zinkevich second, Nelson Monteiro third, and João Barbosa still holds the fourth best time after he's in the rookie class. So it's been a good time so far for João Barbosa, but we still have under 3 minutes there, and I'm sure the other drivers. Nelson Monteiro now is fourth fastest. Dumenossi with number 85. Dumenossi is back on track, and then Francisco Horta. That's the driver we see with the Porsche number 77. Who has to make his best time. He's still behind, way behind Francisco Horta. He's 16th overall.
And we have a lot of drivers in these two classes, especially the sport class, Sergio. As you said, this whole Carrera Championship has a lot of cars and drivers, but in this midfield of the classes, the sport one, it's interesting to see the level of competitiveness and the fact that we have a lot of cars, of course. That's something that we have to celebrate. Something happened there, I don't know. I think not.
Yes, Carlos, I'm very excited about this season because, as I said, we have 26 Carrera Cup cars there for the race today. They are coming first separated to the track, of course, as we're seeing the sport class drivers right now. Then we'll have 20 in the sprint challenge. And we have a new category that we are not going to wear it in English, but it's the trophy class that will have a few drivers as well, which is a development series that just, let's say, restarted this year in Brazil. So it's a lot of drivers racing with Porsches, and it's growing year by year. It's impressive how you see it's a category that's gaining each year more and more traction in Brazil with the public, with the audience, and everything.
Yeah, I agree. The Brazilian Porsche Cup Series is already established series in our country, of course, but it grows year by year. And as you said, with a lot of drivers throughout the Carrera Cup Championship and the Sprint Challenge Championship that we will see in some minutes, but now with the new championship, the Trophy Championship, which is good because then we have another championship in terms of giving the opportunity for drivers and so on to learn, and so they can develop themselves as driver and of course climb the mountain there in terms of going to the Sprint Challenge Championship and then to the Carrera Cup Championship. And it's interesting because we have already seen a lot of drivers doing this process. So they grow in terms of ability and, of course, in terms of competitiveness as well. So it's interesting to note this fact as the clock is ticking now. Checkered flag. Let's see who manages to get out on top in this qualifying session from the sport class.
Lucas Salles was the fastest with 1:36.674. He was huge, I would say, Carlos, 0.3 of a second faster than Nelson Monteiro. Then we had Lineu Pires, Giorgio Frangulis, Franco Giapponi, Nelson Marconi, Zinkevich, Eamon Darwich, another driver. I like his aggressive style. He moved from the Sprint Challenge to the Carrera Cup. Then Francisco Horta. Actually, Darwich is 8th now, and we have in 8th, it's 9th now, and we have in 9th position. Actually, Darwich moved to 10th. Lots of changes in the last minute, Carlos. But we have in the car number 56, we have Peter Ferter, which is a new driver overall. He didn't race before. He was not racing this year. And like Nicolas Costa, he's starting his career in the sprint, Porsche sprint in Brazil.
Yeah, and quite a decent result for him already, a rookie in terms of the competition in the Brazilian Porsche Cup Series, but with P9 there ahead of Eduardo Menossi, Franco Giaffoni, Raija Mascarello, and Ricardo Fontanari, so he has to celebrate quite a lot. And as far as I can see, only Ricardo Fontanari was in the mix of the rookie class drivers. So the theory has happened in practical terms as well, as we see the guys from the sport class ahead of the guys from the rookie class, which is something that we could expect with no doubts. But anyway, we had to praise Lucas Salles, Nelson Monteiro as well, but the gap between Salles and Monteiros was quite big there, 3/10. It's quite a lot, and you can see that by the gap between Nelson and Lineu Pires, for example. That is quite close. And then we see Jorge Frangulis, Nelson Marcondes, and all the other drivers. But interesting qualifying session that we had in this sport class of the Carrera Cup Championship, Sergio.
Yes, you mentioned Ricardo Fontanari. In his flying lap, he went off track. That was the Porsche number 17 that we saw
The
coming
blue car.
back to the track. Exactly. So that's why he ended up right now. He's in 17th overall with the Porsche number 17th. He just was ahead of Gustavo Farah, Piero Cifali, and Nelson Abutaif, who are all drivers for the
Pois é,
rookie
inclusive essas
class.
parcerias, uma é bem
Renata.
longa aqui, do Rafael Suzuki com o Lucas Salles. Inclusive ele desceu do carro, já foi pra tela ali, o Suzuki já estava comentando os tempos, eu falei, espera um pouquinho que eu já falo com ele. Feliz, Lucas, ontem você já fez um treino livre muito bom, um tempo muito bom, queria que você comentasse de agora.
A pista estava muito boa, porque agora de manhã ainda estava mais fresquinho, então deu um grip bom. Os treinos foram legais ontem, então deu para se preparar para o quali de hoje. Então agora estou feliz de ir para o top 10. Aí.
Parabéns.
Obrigado.
Obrigada, Lucas. Com você, Luquinho.
Yeah, there we heard from Lucas Salles, the pole sitter for the sport class of the Carrera Cup Championship. He was celebrating the fact actually that they had grip this morning, which was a concern because of the fact that the ring washed the rubber that they had put in this track yesterday. He had a good practice session yesterday as well, so a good momentum from for Lucas Salles actually, and of course Renata Diniz was also mentioning his driver coach, that is Rafael Suzuki, driver from the Stock Car Pro Series. So this pairing with the coach and the driver in this class is also very important. We see a lot of drivers from the Stock Car Pro Series teaching the drivers from the Porsche Cup Brazil Series as well, Sergio.
Yes, while you see the cars from the main Carrera Cup, the top guys, let's put this way, they are hitting the track. There are a total of 6 drivers for the Carrera Cup. One of them, as we mentioned in the beginning of our transmission, is Nicolas Costa, who is going for the first time to dispute this sprint Porsche Carrera Cup Sprint Championship. He competed in the Endurance Championship in the past
Eu
few
com
years.
ele, que levou o
And
título
we have also
na
veterans
Challenge o ano passado,
like Alceu
Raijan
Feldman,
Mascarello.
Paludo,
Aí parece que
Werner
tá ficando
Neugebauer.
fácil, já
Let's
ficou
hear
tranquilo. Não,
Renata.
quero mais desafio, né? E agora com 992. Mas ele saiu do carro meio bravo aqui, falou, não, podia ter feito melhor. Ou seja, já muda querendo competitividade na certa, né?
A gente é muito competitivo e ontem a gente estava bem, né? E hoje não sei o que aconteceu, o carro não tá bom, não tá legal, não tava na mão, infelizmente. Vamos ver para a corrida, vamos tentar acertar ele para a corrida agora.
Eu quero que você fale dessa adaptação de um carro para o outro. Como que foi pilotar o 992, essa adaptação toda?
É diferente, o carro é muito mais rápido, freia demais, até muito. Mas eu acho que vai vir com o tempo, né? Claro, não é numa corrida que a gente vai conseguir fazer toda essa captação de informações, que ali dentro parece um computador aquele negócio ali. Então é devagarzinho, a gente vai passo de cada vez.
Só 3 dias com o carro, é muito pouco tempo.
É muito pouco tempo. Então a gente vai se adaptar, com certeza a gente vai ser bem competitivo durante o ano todo.
Já percebemos, Raijan. Muito obrigada.
Obrigado a vocês.
Luqui.
Yeah, there we heard from Raijan Mascarello, the main Sprint Challenge Championship in the 2022 season, now racing in the sport class division of the Carrera Cup Championship. He was talking about the fact that he didn't have a good pace today. He had a good practice session actually yesterday, but today he wasn't able to have a good pace. He finished at P12 there, only ahead of Ricardo Fontanari in his class, and immediately ahead of João Barbosa, the pole sitter of the rookie class. And of course, he was highlighting the fact that this car 992 is quite faster than the 991-2. So it's an extra challenge for these drivers that come from the Sprint Challenge Championship, Sergio.
Yes, we saw Nicolas Costa's Porsche. Now it's Miguel Paludo. Miguel Paludo has a new livery this year. We see him the usually it's just red, but it has some silver there because his sponsor brand it's completing 70 years of existence. So it's has this commemorative library for its cars that it competes also in the NASCAR in the United States in the Xfinity Series. And Miguel Paludo, Carlos, just confirmed early this year he will once again for the third straight year compete in 3 races for the NASCAR Xfinity Series in the US. He who lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, where most of the NASCAR car teams are.
Yeah, and the brand sponsored driver there is one of the proofs that this grid is quite interesting and quite competitive. Of course, Miguel Paludo, very well-known driver in the US, and of course the fact that he drives in the NASCAR Xfinity Series just proves how competitive he is. We all know that the level of competitiveness in all the NASCAR championships, Cup Championship, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series as well, they are very high. So it's always good to have Miguel Paludo in the series, and he's a 7-time champion of the series throughout a lot of years and with different championship titles as well. But one of the stars of this grid, with no doubt, Sergio.
Yes, before we saw Nicolas Costa. It's beautiful that Porsche from Nicolas Costa. And this is Werner Neugebauer. Werner Neugebauer, who has a different livery this year as well. Very fast driver. And he comes back with Porsche number 8. He and Franco Giaffoni, who comes back with Porsche number 3. And Franco Giaffoni is in the fourth class. I mentioned them because they have the same sponsor. It's kind of interesting, this fact. And let's see. And this is Marcel Miller. Marcel Miller, who last year, Carlos, disputed the championship. He ended up losing to Enzo Elias, but he was very, very strong in 2022. And he's a former champion of the Porsche Carrera Cup as well.
Yeah, Marcel Miller is always one guy to watch. He had a very consistent season last year, but in the final races he lost a bit of ground to Enzo Elias, and of course it was Enzo Elias' moment. So he was able in the final rounds of the Sprint Championship to open actually a bit of an advantage in terms of championship standings, and of course he capitalized in his with his momentum there and was able to win the crown. But Marcel Miller is definitely one guy to watch, and apart from him, Alceu Feldman as well, I would say, and always Miguel Paludo. But anyway, let's see if Nicolas Costa will be able to fight for the title. And as far as we have seen, it will be interesting to see Nicolas Costa in this 2023 sprint, actually Carrera Cup Championship, because so far so good for him. He has led the practice sessions yesterday and currently ahead of the pack, even though we had a lot of qualifying to come.
Interesting enough, Marcel Miller with this Porsche 544, number 544, he has now the same sponsor as Enzo Elias had last year, which is Farman. So it's interesting that he got this sponsor. So now he represents the company after Enzo Elias left. Right now, Nicolas Costa is the fastest car so far on the track after all cars hit the track. He has the time of 1:36.001, so he almost went to 1:34. And no other driver from the Carrera Cup got a better time than Lucas Salles, who is still second in qualifying. But we still have 2 minutes and 35 seconds there, so it's more time, more than enough time for these drivers who are on the track to improve their times.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw that actually in the sport class qualifying session, Sergio. A lot of drivers changing their lap times with better attempts in the final seconds of the session. Actually, some of them getting good lap times after the checkered flag. So that's something that we can expect with the Carrera Cup main class as well. And theoretically, the track is better and better because of the rubber that these drivers are putting there. So let's wait and see if the lap times will be considerably faster in this Carrera Cup main class in this final moments. But anyway, good expectation, and we see that Miguel Paludo is already second overall.
Yeah, he got a time 6/10 of a second slower than Nicolas Costa. Lucas Salles is still third, so it was a very good effort by Lucas Salles. Let's see what Marcel Miller can do. He is going from a flying lap with less than a minute and a half to finish his qualifying session. Then we will have the top 10 drivers from these first three qualifying sessions hit the track, and then we'll find out who will be the pole for the race this afternoon. Race will be this afternoon, starting at about 1 p.m. Brazilian time. It will be 11 a.m. US time. And I believe it to be 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. I'll double check, Carlos. I don't know if it, or GMT time. So I believe it's 3 hours, but it might be 4. Anyway, it will be 1 p.m. Brazilian time. That's when we'll have the races.
Yeah, and we will check this information for you guys. But anyway, now we have Werner Neubauer with the second fastest time overall. But theoretically, there's time to come, better lap times actually from the top drivers of this Carrera Cup Championship, Sergio, because 4 temps is a quite big gap between the pace setter and the second in the standings, in the lap sheets, that we see Werner Neubauer in this moment. But of course, we are not saying that Nicolas Costa wasn't supposed to be ahead of the pack, but 6 tenths between Nicolas and Miguel Paludo is quite a lot. Let's see if, Marcel Miller's lap time there.
Yeah, and just confirm it's really 3 hours. So race this afternoon, this Saturday afternoon, live will be at 4 p.m. GMT. So that's the time for GMT. It's 1 p.m. Brazilian time and 11 a.m. US Eastern time. So there we have Marcel Miller already went to the pits, already got the checkered flag. He has the second best time so far. Nicolas Costa is on the pits, and Werner Neugebauer got the third best time. So he's in third with Miguel Paludo in fourth, and Lucas Salles is still in fifth. So, and then we have Rodrigo Melo. We didn't mention Rodrigo Melo yet, but he improved a lot last year, Carlos. And right now he has the sixth best time. Alceu Feldman with the Porsche number one is the green Porsche. He got the ninth best time. And Werner Neugebauer, just this Porsche number 8, just improved his time and got ahead of Nicolas Costa by eight hundredths of a second. So it was close, but Werner Neugebauer has been the fastest car so far.
Yeah, and that's not a happy ending for Nicolas Costa. We saw him inside the car there already in the pit lane, so he won't be able to challenge Werner Neubauer. That is actually the pole seater for this Carrera Cup Championship round of Interlagos. Interesting qualifying session. Now, in the end, we have a more common, to say the least, gap between the pace setter and the second overall. Almost 1/10, but a little bit less than that. Werner Neubauer ahead of the pack. Nicolas Costa second. Marcel Miller third. Miguel Paludo fourth. And as we have been highlighting, Lucas Salles was able to get in the mix there of the main Carrera drivers, the sport class driver with the fifth fastest time overall ahead of Rodrigo Melo, Nelson Monteiro, Neo Pires, and Alceu Feldman, one of the most known drivers of this series. Sergio.
Yes, and we have to mention as well Giorgio Frangoulis with the Porsche number 88 of the sport class. He got the 10th best time. He was the fifth best time among the sport class. No, he was, pardon me, he was the fourth best time among the sport class, and he got 10th overall. I saw the car of Francisco Horta. Now we'll wait to see who is going to be the pole position for the race this afternoon. All positions behind the 10th, Carlos, are already set for the race this afternoon.
Yeah, that's it. From P11 to the end of the grid, we have the definition. So Franco Giaffoni will start 11th, ahead of
Rapidinho,
Nelson
só pra falar com o
Marcondes,
Jorge
Francisco Horta,
Frangulis,
and so
que
on.
garante
Let's
um
hear
lugar no top
from
10. É super
Renata
importante, né, Gil?
Diniz. She's chatting there with Jorge
Primeira etapa do
Sorangulhos.
ano, né? Acho que é sempre bom a gente começar passando pro Q2. A Sport esse ano, que é a nossa categoria, está super competitiva, tem 13 carros na Sport. Então, fiquei super feliz de ter passado junto com os Carreiras aí e outros 3 companheiros de Carreira Esporte para o Q2. Vamos ver se a gente consegue melhorar um pouquinho a nossa volta agora, já demos uma olhada no data ali. Acho que dá para tentar largar as 3, 4 primeiras filas aí.
A dinâmica é essa, ele termina, vem, dá uma olhada lá, aguarda, assiste, bota o capacete, entra e vai. É isso aí. Bom treino, Gil. Luque?
Yeah, there we heard from Jorge Sorangulhos. As Sergio highlighted, he will be in the top 10 qualifying session of this Carrera Cup Championship in the next few minutes. And it was quite difficult to hear from him because of the helmet, but he was celebrating the fact that even with a lot of cars and such a high level of competitiveness in the sport class championship, he was able to be there in the mix with the main Carrera driver. So he's P10 in this moment and he can improve, but let's wait and see. Of course, his rivals are quite fast as well, Sergio.
Yes. Top 10 are Vernon Neugebauer, Nicolas Costa, Marçal Miller, Miguel Paludo, Lucas Salles, Rodrigo Melo, Nelson Monteiro, Lineu Pires, Alceu Feldman, and Giorgio Frangulis. So the 6 drivers who are competing in the main Carrera Cup championship, they are all there in the top 10, is of course a very good sign. There we see the Rodrigo Melo, he's refreshing himself, I believe, trying to get some wind there. We are still in summer in Brazil, so even though the weather is overcast, it's been very hot in Brazil during the summer, even though, Carlos, that you are from São Paulo, you had very, very cold days in São Paulo during this summer.
Yeah, some cold days, but as you said, even with this overcast weather, we have some hot days, and that is the case for this Saturday's actions in the Brazilian Porsche Cup Series. But we could see there in the pit lane camera that we have a lot of dark clouds in this moment already. So let's wait and see if we will have rain in this qualifying session. I don't believe so, but maybe in the races, of course, they happen a little bit later today, so that can be a factor. But anyway, let's wait and see who manages to get out on top in this top 10 qualifying part of the Carrera Cup qualifying session this Saturday. Sorry. Yesterday, of course, we had the free practices, but anyway, it will be interesting to see. And one thing to watch, Sergio, is the gap between the top drivers. We were talking a bit about that in the Carrera part of the qualifying session, but the main Carrera class, I say, but we can expect closer lap times because, for example, between the pace setter, that was Werner Neugebauer, in the 3rd overall, we had almost 3 attempts. That is quite a lot, as we see there. Car number 999, that is Nicolas Costa, if I'm not wrong, will be investigated after the qualifying session because he may have used a line there that is not the official line, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's not good news for sure for Nicolas Costa. Of course, you have to wait and see what is going to be decided about him. We see Nelson Monteiro with his Porsche. Nelson Monteiro, who had the 7th best time overall after the 3 first qualifying sessions that we had going to the track separately, the rookie class, the sport class, and the main Carrera Cup. But now we have Carrera Cup and the sport class together competing for the pole overall. No driver has yet set up a time, so we will have to wait and see. At least none of them has set up a fast time. None had a flying lap, and now it's really a very important moment, Carlos. As we know, as always, we see many changes of positions during the races, mainly in Interlagos, but of course, starting on the pole, it's always a big advantage.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in such a big grid, we have a lot of cars, 26 cars, if I'm not wrong. So we tend to have an action-packed race actually this weekend races. By the way, and with such a lot of drivers, it's always interesting to be ahead of the pack. Also, considering that we have a lot of drivers in the rookie class, so these guys from Carrera, the main Carrera class, and these guys from the sport class that advance into the top 10 of the qualifying session, they will want to have clean air, at least for a moment throughout the race, because we can expect some guys that will be slower than the main drivers in these races. So traffic will be an issue, and starting ahead of the pack always helps, as you said.
Werner Neugebauer has the best time so far, 1:43.621. And now we have number 88 ahead of him, Jorge Prangulis, and Alceu Feldman is the fast so far, 1:38.748. But they still have lots of room to improve, Carlos. Best time from Werner Neugebauer during the qualifying session for the Carrera Cup drivers was 1:35.921. Right now, Alceu Feldman has 1:38.748. So with 5 minutes to go, all the drivers still have to do their at least one flying lap, trying to get the best time. So nothing is set yet during this qualifying session that will decide pole position for the first race of the weekend this Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. And we can see that comparing the lap times that we have so far in this final part of the qualifying session with the lap times that we have in the main Carrera class part of the qualifying, especially when we look to Werner Neugebauer's lap time, that was 1:35.921. So there's still a lot to come from this driver, Sergio.
We see again Nelson Monteiro. Nelson Monteiro is in fourth overall, but without a flying lap. He's 14 seconds behind the first one, and now he gets the best time, 1:38.314, with Alceu Feldman in second. And then now we have Jorge Prangulis. Alceu Feldman get the best time. Now we are talking, Carlos. Alceu Feldman 1:36.720 is still like about 1 second shy of the best time that we had so far this morning in Interlagos, but he's getting close. So I'm sure times will improve now while we see Lucas Salles, who is trying to do a good work. He's fifth best so far.
Yeah, good lap times are starting to come actually, but we have to remember, for example, that Alceu Feldman was a bit behind his class rivals in the previous part of the qualifying session. So theoretically, we can expect something even more interesting from Nicolas Costa, for example, Werner Neugebauer, the pace setter so far, and even Marcel Miller, that was almost 3 tenths behind Werner in the previous qualifying part, but third overall in that moment. So let's wait and see. But anyway, we have to highlight Jorge Frangulis' job so far, even though there's still a lot to come, but ahead of his class rivals and currently second, even though we can expect him to drop a bit.
This is Nelson Monteiro. He is from the sport class. So far, Alceu Feldman is the fastest overall, 1:36.720. Then we have Georgios Frangoulis. Then we have Rodrigo Melo, Nelson Monteiro, e Neo Pires. And we see behind there Carlos Miguel Paludo, Nicolas Costa, and Marcel Miller. But I'm sure they will improve. These drivers, I'm quite sure they will be in the top 5 at the end of this session.
There we heard a bit these engines, these cars actually, they have 460 horsepower, and for this 2023 season they have a different exhaust type that is also used in the Porsche Super Cup championship worldwide. So there's no difference in terms of performance, but theoretically they are a little bit higher in terms of volume, so louder cars, and it's always interesting for the public in the stands, Sergio.
Yes, very, very well said, Carlos. It's really important, the sound of the engines are really important. And of course, it's music anyway. It was music last year, it's music this year, but for the public, they will feel a little bit of a difference. We feel a little bit also in the broadcast, but for the public, the change is big. And then we have Nicolas Costa, 1:35.644. It's the best time so far this Saturday morning, with Marcel Miller in second. Then we have Werner Neugebauer and Miguel Paludo. So they all improved from their best times that they had in the first session they had, Carlos. So times are really getting better as we get close to the end of the session. And then after this, stay tuned here that we will follow the qualifying session for the Sprint Challenge category.
Yeah, all of the top drivers faster than they were in the previous part of the qualifying session, and that's something that we could expect because of the fact that we have a little bit more of rubber in the track than we had earlier. Of course, we always remember that we had heavy rains actually yesterday in the final part of the afternoon, so that's why the Carrera Cup qualifying session was postponed to today's morning. But anyway, it seems that the track is getting a little bit better, as we see there to the left, Rubem Carrapatoso, a Brazilian driver coach and also engineer. Apart from that, karting world championship, beating Fernando Alonso.
No more, no less, right? It's a very accomplished driver, Rubens Carrapatoso. There we see Miguel Paludo. He has the third best time. He already got the checkered flag. Actually, Nicolas Costa got the checkered flag. He is the fastest so far. Marcel Miller, then Miguel Paludo. Let's see Werner Neugebauer if he can improve his time. And Werner Neugebauer got the third best lap. So he's ahead of Miguel Paludo, who falls to fourth position. So it's Nicolas Costa, Marcel Miller, Werner Neugebauer, and Miguel Paludo. All these four drivers got already the checkered flag, while we see Lucas Salles going to the pit. So that's it for him with the Porsche number 70. Let's see if there is any change in time right now, and apparently no. Lineu Pires, he got the 8th best time. This is Lineu Pires, who just tried to the last minute, the last second to improve his time. And this is the pole position, Carlos Costa. Even though there was that if, because he will be investigated after the disqualifying. See if he didn't use the track there, but let's see what happens. Anyway, he is the pole position for the race this afternoon.
Yeah, anyway, we have to highlight Nicolas Costa's performance so far, coming from yesterday, actually, because he led the practice sessions that we had Friday. But anyway, good qualifying session for Nicolas, even though we have this question mark, as you said. But anyway, the investigation will be done after this qualifying session. So far, so good for him. We wait and see to check if this pole position is confirmed. But anyway, the investigation is regarding the fact that he theoretically didn't use the standard racing line in this qualifying session, actually in the previous part. So anyway, if we have a penalty or something like that, we will inform you guys. But so far, so good for Nicolas. And what a qualifying session we had. A very close competition there, very close fight actually, and we can see there by the lap times actually, Sergio. So let's wait and see. The expectation is quite good for the races of the Carrera Cup in this Sprint Championship opener for 2023 season of the Brazilian Porsche Cup Series. Sergio.
Yeah, and theoretically, Carlos, he might be punished, let's say, with losing his best time in the first qualifying session, but his second best time might have been enough to bringing him to this session that decide the pole. So we'll have to wait and see. Very good start, as you said, for Nicolas Costa. His first race competing for the Porsche Cup C6 Bank MasterCard Sprint Championship. He starts with the pole position. It's indeed a very, very good start. And Marcel Miller, who got the second best time. It's been a very good effort by him as well. He fought last year for the championship until the last round. There is again Nicolas Costa. He's a happy fellow indeed, and he's right to be happy. He's commemorating with his team, taking the photographs. I will wait for and this is Lucas Salles, who also had a very, very good effort. It was 6th overall. It was
Com
good
certeza, a
work
festa
by
vai ficar mais
Lucas
legal
Salles,
agora,
Renata.
Luque Monteiro. Olha o troféu que eu tenho para ele. Troféu pole position da Mobil. Parabéns. Nicolas, a gente ficou bem impressionado, assim, volta atrás de volta. Cara, chegou com tudo.
Muito obrigado, lindo o troféu. Muito feliz de recebê-lo, porque não é fácil. Confesso que fiquei emocionado, porque a gente começou os treinos bem atrás, devendo bastante, tentando acertar o carro e procurando cada mínimo detalhe. Ontem eu até brinquei com meus amigos, meus familiares, porque eu fui o primeiro piloto a chegar na pista, eu cheguei no estacionamento dos pilotos, não tinha absolutamente ninguém, vazio, 7h pouca da manhã, e fui o último a sair, não sei que horas, 8 horas da noite. Então acho que o trabalho duro compensa. Estou orgulhoso de estar aqui representando a Prio. Eu sou carioca, representando uma empresa carioca num campeonato nacional, diria até sul-americano, né? Então isso para mim é um motivo de grande orgulho. E, bom, isso é só um primeiro passo, né? O que vale agora é a corrida. Estou muito contente, mas vamos continuar focado para tentar levar o caneco aí.
Mas já começou muito bem. Não precisa segurar as lágrimas, não. Deixa a emoção vir mesmo. Com você aí, Luke. Parabéns, Nicolas.
Valeu, obrigado.
Yeah, there we heard from Nicolas Costa. He was highlighting the fact that he was the first to arrive at Interlagos yesterday and the last to leave. So he said that the hard work pays off. Of course, he highlighted the fact that the pole position is only one step. He has to perform very well in the races as well. But anyway, he was celebrating the fact that he was able to get this pole position. And of course, he was celebrating the fact that he, being a driver from Rio de Janeiro, was able to represent a company from Rio de Janeiro in this particular race in São Paulo. So anyway, we have to praise Nicolas Costa's performance, even though there's this question mark, as you said, Sergio.
Yes, and the company Prio is in the oil and gas business, which is very strong in the state of Rio de Janeiro. It's offshore in Rio that there are lots of oil fields in Brazil, and there are many companies related to oil and gas in Rio de Janeiro. So it's really important for his state and his city. That's actually where I live as well, Carlos. So I'll get that to my home state as well.
Yeah, now the expectation is quite good for the Sprint Challenge Championship qualifying session. Green flag already. This championship uses the 991-2 cars
Eu não
of the
tenho
Porsche
mesmo, hein?
Cup Brazil
Cadê?
Series.
Joga aí de cima pra
Let's
mim
see if
aqui.
Renato Diniz will interview someone else. But anyway, green flag, and here we go for one more qualifying session this Saturday, Sergio.
Yeah, so now we have the Sprint Challenge. This qualifying session was already scheduled. So the Carrera Cup qualifying that we just saw was scheduled for Friday, for yesterday, but due to heavy rain, it was transferred to the Saturday morning. But this qualifying session that we are about to follow now was scheduled for this time, for 9 a.m.
Luke,
Brazilian time.
deixa eu aproveitar e falar com o
That's
Marçal Miller.
12
Marçal,
p.m.
começando
GMT
a
or
temporada agora, já deu pra
7
perceber que a
a.m.
disputa vai ser
US
muito
Eastern Time.
acirrada esse ano,
Renata.
hein?
É, com certeza, aí faltou encaixar os setores ali, se eu pegasse e juntasse o setor do miolo com o da segunda volta era pole, mas parabéns ao Nicolas, ele conseguiu encaixar os setores e vamos sair na primeira fila, primeira etapa, agora é focar para fazer uma boa largada, somar bons pontos para o campeonato.
Obrigada. Luke?
Yeah, there we heard from Marcel Miller with his particular accent. He's from Rio Grande do Sul, the southernmost state of Brazil. He was commentating about the fact that he wasn't able to get all of the sectors of this track good in terms of lap time. Of course, the middle sector, if I'm not wrong, was better for Nicolas Costa. He praised Nicolas, and with 2/10 of a gap, he was actually happy, but not that much, even though he is, of course, thinking about the race. So front row for Marcel Miller, and he's a very experienced driver, as we have been saying throughout this broadcast. He has fought for the title against Enzo Elias until the end of the 2022 championship. So that's one guy to watch, definitely, Sergio.
Yes. Now we have the cars for the rookie class, sprint challenge rookie class. 5 drivers are hitting the track, and they are Sério Brasil with the 139, then number 38, Eric Santos, then number 7, we have Luis Felipe Diaz, and then number 51, we have Lanzoni, and then Salman with the number 133, Israel Salman. So these are the drivers who are hitting the track. You see number 139 with Sério Brasil. And again, like we saw before, like we had before in the Carrera Cup, Carlos, we first have the rookie drivers, then the sport class drivers, and then the main sprint challenge drivers. We have 5 rookie drivers competing in the rookie class. The sport class, we will have 9 drivers, and the sprint challenge, the main category, we have 6 drivers. But it's always good to point that they all compete for the win, even though, of course, the main, like we say, the main sprint challenge drivers are the favorites, but any other driver can win the race, can win the championship. They will be together on the track, and the car is the same. It's just the level of the drivers that's slightly different, and that's why Porsche Cup Brazil has these 3 different classes. The main class that's open to everybody, to all the drivers, and then it has the sport class and the rookie class. So these drivers who, let's put quote unquote, a little bit less skilled, they are all good drivers. If not, they wouldn't be there. But they have the opportunity to compete between themselves and fight for victories in their classes, for championship in their classes. So this makes everything more interesting, Carlos.
Yeah, and the fact that they are not that skilled is not a problem at all, because one of the nicest things of this Brazilian Porsche Cup series is the fact that the drivers, they develop themselves throughout the season and throughout the championships that they compete. Of course, some of them a lot of years in this Brazilian Porsche Cup series, and from time to time they go to more competitive classes, actually. So it's always nice to see. And talking about the fact that we have this opportunity for new drivers, that's why Porsche Brazil created the Trophy Challenge Championship that we won't broadcast in English, but it's sort of a school championship, to say the least. So it will be interesting to see how the drivers of the Trophy Challenge Championship, they will learn throughout the whole year. And as you said, the qualifying format for a sprint challenge championship is the pretty much the same for that we had actually for the Carrera Cup championship. And just talk a bit about the horsepower of these 991-2 Porsche cars of the Sprint Challenge Championship. It's 450 horsepower, so it's quite powerful as well, as we can hear at Interlagos, Sergio.
Yes, so far Brazil is the fastest. Brazil, Célio Brazil, it's just his last name is Brazil, but Célio Brazil is the fastest driver on track so far. And then we have in the second place Israel Salman, who is a new driver. They're both new. I would say all these 5 drivers that are on the track, Carlos, are new to the category. So this is very good. As we mentioned in the Carrera Cup, many drivers moved from Sprint Challenge to Carrera Cup. Some of the drivers who were in the rookie class last year in the Sprint Challenge moved either to the sport class or to the main Sprint Challenge class. And now we have quite a few drivers that are new to the Porsche family, let's put this way, and are competing in the rookie class, like this number 133 from Israel Salman, who is the fastest so far.
Yeah, that's it, Sergio. And that's a special moment for us as well, because we are getting to know these 5 new drivers of the rookie class of the Sprint Challenge Championship. And as we have in the main Carrera Championship, actually the whole Carrera Cup Championship, the Sprint Challenge also has a lot of drivers. So the whole Sprint Challenge Championship for this round specifically, it has 21 drivers, so it will be nice to see. That promises obviously action-packed racing as well, and traffic and so on is obviously an issue, especially for the new drivers that we see in this rookie class of the Sprint Challenge Championship, Sergio.
Yes, 2 minutes and 26, 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes to end this first session for the Sprint Challenge qualifying. Always good to remember, races this afternoon will start at 1 p.m. Brazilian time, which will be 11 a.m. US Eastern Standard Time, or 4 p.m. GMT. We'll be here, Carlos and I, to bring you these races that are from the Porsche Cup Brazil. It's Porsche Cup C6 Bank Mastercard season 2023. I will see there number 51 of Americo Lanzoni. Americo Lanzoni so far has the worst time among the drivers who are on the track. 139 is Brazil. It's Célio Brazil, who is trying to improve his time and get ahead of Israel Salman.
Yeah, but Lanzoni had an issue, I believe, or he wasn't able to get a clean lap there, because almost 20 seconds of gap. It's not normal, of course. Rookie in this Brazilian Porsche Cup Series, so he's getting used to this car. And of course, Interlagos is quite a challenging track, so it's always interesting to see new drivers in this track. But of course, that's difficult for guys that are starting their driver careers. But let's wait and see if Americo is able to get a better lap time there. So far, so good for Salman. And Célio Brazil is also a highlight, even though the gap is bigger than it should. But that's also explained by the fact that they are rookies.
Yes, we're seeing actually, Carlos, a big gap among all drivers, because Célio Brazil is 1.5 seconds behind Israel Salman, and then number 7 of Luis Souza is 1 second more, over 1 second behind Célio Brazil, and Eric Santos, then it's 7/10 of a second behind Luis Souza. And Lanzoni, as you said, is way behind, so he probably had some kind of problem during his fastest lap. His best time was 2 minutes, 1 second 361, which it's way slow, you know. For sure he's not having a good situation right now. He's having a problem.
Yeah, definitely, but none of them in the pit lane, so they are all trying to get a better lap time there, even though Lozoni's situation, as we have been talking about, is not that good. But anyway, it's a learning round for them as well, the opener of the 2023 championship, and of course they have the whole year to improve. But anyway, even though they are rookies and so on, they are eager to compete against each other. So that's a nice challenge for them as well in that matter. And Série Brasil is confirmed as the second fastest, at least so far. But I don't believe this order in terms of grid position will change that much.
And there is Lanzoni. He improved his time, but just a little bit. He's 15 seconds behind. So it's the fourth place. So it was not really a good day for him, but he's starting, as you said. And Lanzoni also, Carlos, he decided to compete in the last minute. He was not in the original list of drivers who would be competing this weekend. So he's a last minute entry, and probably that's why. He's still getting used to the car, but I'm sure he'll be able to improve
Bastante
as time
chamativa.
passes
Agora
by.
estamos mais
And
do que
let's
bem
see,
representadas
Renata.
mulheres aqui. Muito simbólico, né? No mês de março, estreia da temporada, uma mulher, uma menina, ela tem 16 anos, mais 12 de carreira, Luque Monteiro, porque ela começou a correr com 4 anos. Antonella Bassani está aqui sendo um talento revelado, né? É uma tradição já da Porsche Cup, e ela está participando do Young Racing Academy. Eu queria saber, eu vou te falar que ela está um pouquinho tensa, que ela falou, tô aqui, hoje, todos esses dias sorrindo muito, hoje ela já estava com o rosto mais fechado. Mas olha, você chegou muito bem, fazendo os treinos aqui da pré-temporada. Ontem já ficou no top 5. Conta como está sendo essa experiência para você, que é tão jovem, mas já tem bastante tempo aí no automobilismo.
Bom, está sendo uma experiência incrível desde quinta, desde os treinos da pré-temporada. Desde o meu segundo treino eu venho andando super bem entre os top 5. Ontem, os treinos oficiais, eu também fiquei entre os 5 primeiros. E hoje eu não quero mudar esse foco, mas se Deus quiser eu vou conseguir o pole aí para a mulherada, para homenagear elas. Não só como a pole, mas quero talvez já conseguir um pódio na minha primeira etapa. Estou bem confiante, sei do meu potencial, e se eu encaixar a volta perfeita vai vir um voltão.
Nossa, não dá nem para acreditar que só tem 16 anos. E como que foi essa chegada aqui, adaptação ao carro? O que você achou do carro, Antonella?
Eu achei um carro muito bom, muito diferente do que alguns que eu já tinha andado. Eu ainda estou me adaptando um pouco ao freio dele, porque ele é um carro que freia muito. Então você tem que saber quando você freia e quando você tira, o jeito que você tira, de vez em quando pode dar de 2 a 3 décimos a freada que você dá, de tão diferente que é. Mas é uma coisa que eu estou adaptando ainda. O único acerto que falta para eu casar com o carro, né? Porque o piloto tem que estar sempre casado no que anda. Mas é isso. Falta só um pouquinho já para eu estar quase 100% no carro. Na verdade falta um monte ainda, mas para a primeira etapa só isso.
É isso aí, seja muito bem-vinda. Nós estamos muito felizes de ter você no nosso grid. E agora, bom treino para você.
Muito obrigada.
Luque.
Yeah, nice interview there. We heard from Antonella Bassani, the 16-year-old. Actually, she was a two-time, that's it, finalist of the FIA Girls on Track program. And of course, he's one of the members of the Young Driver Academy. So it's nice to see the fact that we have a school program in this Porsche Cup championship as well. She's competing in the main sprint challenge championship. So that's an interesting information because the level of competitiveness of this main class is quite good as well. And she was talking about the fact that so far the practice sessions have been good for her, top fives and so on, even though she's still adapting to the brakes of these cars. She was used to racing in go-karts and single-seaters, but now the situation is quite different. But anyway, two-time finalist of the FIA Girls on Track program, and now with this Young Driver Academy that is new in this 2023 season of Porsche Cup Brazil, Sergio.
And it's very interesting, Carlos, that she's very confident, and she said she's aiming for a podium. She was in the top 5 yesterday among the class, the sport class. She competes in the sport class. So it's very, very nice to see Antonella there racing, and she will represent very, very well. The women are just 16 years old, Carlos. So it's a talent there that it's a promise that we'll be seeing more and more in the Brazilian motorsport scene.
Yeah, definitely. And already with international experience, given the fact that she's a two-time finalist of the FIA Girls on Track, actually a Brazilian driver, Belgian Brazilian driver, to be more precise, has won the FIA Girls on Track program last year. That is Aurelia Nobel. So it's interesting to see how the young female drivers from Brazil they are performing, and of course, to have women in motorsport as a whole is very important. So that's a concern for Porsche Brazil as well, and interesting to have Antonella Bassani in this young driver academy because, as you said, she's a quite highly rated talent that we have in the Brazilian motorsport scene, even coming from the go-kart years that she had. So it's nice to see, and of course, so young, 16 years old only, as you said, and already speaking very well and performing very well, which is the most important thing.
And a correction, Carlos. It's important correction. I mentioned she was in the sport class. Actually, she's in the main class. She's in the main challenge class. So she's racing against the top guys in the category. So she was top 5 overall. So she's doing a very nice work. She's not on the track right now. On the track right now, we have the 9 sport class drivers who will be competing this afternoon. Actually, have 10 sport class drivers right now. There is one more than in the original list. Let's see what times they will improve, if they will improve over the rookie class. Let's listen to Renata again. Not yet. But Renata will be soon
Boa,
with
a gente tá
us.
falando de estreia,
Oh,
né? O Thiago Mendonça comentou do Sadak Leite. Quem estreou e tá estreando muito bem, felizaço, é o Israel. E aí, conta pra gente como tá sendo essa experiência desde a pré-temporada que você chegou aqui. Primeira vez na categoria, primeiro contato com o carro e agora já garantindo aí um resultado tão bacana.
Eu diria que é a primeira vez no campeonato oficial na vida, né? Independente da categoria. Eu estou muito feliz, aliviado, né? Porque você fica preocupado, você fica com medo, falta um pouco de confiança ainda no início. Mas estou assim, realizado. Assim. Eu acho que é uma disputa literalmente, pelo menos aqui para os rookies, eu acho que nós entre nós mesmos, a gente com a gente mesmo, né? E o importante é todo mundo sair bem, sair feliz, sair realizado, com um pouquinho de conhecimento a mais. Mas estou feliz demais.
E já teve um entrosamento muito bom de vocês aqui.
Ah, porque o primeiro dia, na sexta-feira, na quinta-feira foi difícil. Primeira vez na pista, bati o carro. Então minha confiança já foi lá embaixo. E aí fui construindo de novo essa confiança aí. Então foi por isso que a galera ficou bem feliz aí com o resultado.
Recuperou rapidinho a confiança. Seja muito bem-vindo, viu, Israel?
Valeu demais, gente. Valeu.
Isso aí, tá só começando o final de semana. Luke?
Yeah, there we heard from Israel Salman, the pole sitter of the rookie class of this Sprint Challenge Championship. He's as his class rivals, all of them actually, they are rookies new to the class, and he was talking about the fact that Thursday, when he had his first contact with this car actually officially, and by the way, it's his first official championship of his driving career, he had an accident, so his confidence wasn't that good for today, but anyway, he was able to overcome that challenge, and of course, fastest of the class, and 1 second and 3 tenths ahead of Série Brasil. So what a drive from Zell Salman, and he was also highlighting the fact that they are all competing against each other, but also against themselves, because they are learning about the car and so on. So that's interesting to see, as we have been talking about, Sergio, these driver improvements that we have, especially in the lower classes of the Brazilian Porsche Cup Series.
Yes, this is Antonio Junqueira in the car number 16, in the Porsche number 16. He is new to the Sprint Challenge as well. It's his first year here that he's competing, and he's in the sport class. So let's see what he can do. Lots of new drivers, as we mentioned, for the Sprint Challenge category. And so far, Israel Salman has the best time, but he's he is in the pits. Junior Dinardi made 1:41.857 among the drivers who are on the track, and this driver Antonio Junqueira got the third best time so far, but they still have over 4 minutes to improve their times, and I'm sure Carlos, they will get better times than the drivers of the rookie class. Again, we have 10 drivers competing in the sport class. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, and we already have better lap times there. 3 of the sport class drivers ahead of the pack. Antonio Junqueira, André Gaidzinski, and Gustavo Zanon. They are ahead of Isael Salman already, but I believe that these lap times will be better and better. We still have a lot of time in this qualifying part of the Sprint Challenge Championship.
Yeah, Gustavo Gaidzinski and Zanon are back from last year. Gaidzinski has been competing for a while. Let's see what these drivers can do. We see there Junior Dinardi trying to improve his time, and he get the best time. So right now, Junior Dinardi has 1:40.233 and is the fastest driver in the sprint challenge category in Interlagos with a little bit over 3 minutes to go. Oh, problems for André Gaidzinski. André Gaidzinski, who is a very nice paint scheme this year, and he's trying to find a way to go back to the track. He's stuck there, Carlos, but I believe he might just be waiting for all the other drivers to pass by so he can return to the track safely.
Yeah, I believe so. It seems to be the case, but anyway, problems indeed, because it seems that there's a loose part of the bodywork in the front part of the car there. But anyway, he already has a good lap time, P3 so far, behind Junqueira and Dinardi, as we see the replay, and there you can see the loose part of the bodywork. And of course, it seems that he missed a braking point. That's another car, but no, it's actually a left-hander there, I believe. He may have accelerated too early and then he lost control of the car. And now we have once more Antonio Junqueira ahead of the pack. He doesn't come from the 2022 season of Brazilian Porsche Cup Series, but he's a very accomplished driver and already experienced as well. He used to race in the GT Sprint Race Series that is now called the NASCAR Brazil Sprint Race Championship here in our country. But of course, his rivals, they are a bit more experienced in these cars. Dinardi now with the second fastest time overall, ahead of Gaidzinski. Gustavo Zanon. Gaidzinski's plan.
Yeah, Gustavo Zanon is in third place. Then in fourth, we have number 15 of Arthur Ramos. He is new as well. He's coming this year to the Sprint Challenge category. So it's one of the new names competing, which I think it's very, very, very good that we have new drivers coming, more drivers competing in the Porsche Cup Brazil. And there he is, Arthur Ramos, and behind him, we see Gustavo Zanon. Gustavo Zanon, who has the third best time. Antonio Junqueira, really great time so far. It's leading the pack with Junior Dinardi in second. Remembering that after these drivers, we'll have the main sprint challenge drivers coming to the track. And then after that, we'll have the qualifying session with the top 10 best drivers overall to compete for the pole position for the race this afternoon. Antonio Junqueira is still there, 1:39.986. And we see Gustavo Zanon getting ahead of Antonio Junqueira there.
Yeah, a bit of racing in the qualifying session. But anyway, it seems that Junqueira wasn't in such a fast lap time attempt there. But anyway, 5 seconds to go, checkered flag to come. And I believe that we might have some changes in the driver order in terms of grid position, as we see there. Junqueira actually going a bit wide. Actually, we saw a lot of drivers going a little bit wide in that corner. But anyway, it's not an advantage, of course. He loses time by doing that.
We saw before Porsche number 57 of Ramon Alcaraz. He is 10th overall. I see again Antonio Junqueira. He's trying, he's doing his best, and so far he has the best time among all the drivers who hit the track up to this moment. He's going to the pits now, end of this session for him. But with this time, regardless, Carlos, I believe he will be for the top 10 qualifying session that will decide the pole position. Very good effort by Junqueira and Gustavo Zanon, trying to improve yet his time. Let's see. He is third overall. Dinardi at this moment. Oh, Sadak Leite got a better time than Junqueira. With the Porsche number 66, is the fastest so far. So great effort by Sadak Leite. Sadak Leite, who was in the rookie class last year, this year, he is in the sport class, really improving in this Porsche number 66. Great effort by Sadak Leite.
Yeah, Sadak Leite was already a highlight, one of the most interesting drivers last year. So good momentum for him as well, coming from the end of the 2022 season and now starting in such a good manner this 2023 campaign. Of course, there's the race to come, but anyway, this result is very important. Also thinking about that top 10, amalgamated top 10 between the three classes, the main sprint challenge class, the sport class, and the rookie class. Of course, the guys from the rookie class are not a threat, but anyway, these guys from the sport class, especially the fastest ones such as Sadaki and Antonio Junqueira, they might have a spot there between the top 10 in order to fight for pole position in the final part of the qualifying session. But anyway, we have to praise these drivers, and now the expectation is quite good for the main sprint challenge qualifying session, because theoretically the most skilled drivers of this championship, they will hit the track.
Yes, the top four, Carlos, were Sadak Leite, Antonio Junqueira, Júnior Dinardi, and Gustavo Zanon. And I mentioned them because there will be 6 drivers from the sprint challenge. So in theory, this top 4 in the sport class will go to the fight for the pole in the last session this morning in Interlagos. 5th place was number 100, Sabah Malucelli. He is new as well this year. He didn't compete last year. Great effort by Malucelli.
Carboni não quis aparecer aqui. Cheguei para ele e falei, poxa, parabéns, baita resultado. Ele falou, calma, mas tem o top 10 ainda. Isso aqui não vale nada. Assim, tá exigindo de fato do piloto, viu?
Yeah, Renata Diniz was mentioning the fact that Fabio Carboni was one of the driver coaches. He said that we will still have the top 10 qualifying of the Sprint Challenge Championship after the main Sprint Challenge class qualifying session that will happen shortly. But anyway, that just shows how competitive this qualifying session is being overall in this championship, as we saw there. Ricardo Mauricio, one of the most accomplished drivers of the Brazilian motorsport scene. He's also one of the driver coaches of Brazilian Porsche Cup Series. We saw there Fabio Carboni kneeling, but anyway, once more Ricardo Mauricio. Actually, Ricardo Mauricio, a former Red Bull Junior team member, so he used to work with Helmut Marko and these guys. But anyway, nice qualifying session. We saw there André Gaidzinski's car. That's a shame that he spun there, so of course that compromised his qualifying session. But anyway, he has been highlighting for a moment in the early parts of this sport class qualifying session, and I believe that we have green flag for the main class, Sergio.
Exactly, the main class sprint challenge drivers are hitting the track. André Gaidzinski, you mentioned, Carlos, was 7th overall. And I would put in highlight.
Vamos falar com o Antônio Junqueira, que já chegou chegando, tinha participado com a gente aqui na 3.8 Endurance. Agora o cenário é totalmente diferente para fazer a temporada inteira, e já não tem poeira nesse corpo não, né, Antônio?
Não, agora vai, né? Esse carro é maravilhoso, é um pouco diferente do último que eu andei, mas é muito gostoso, o clima, o time aí. Eu vi que eu estava bem, estava na liderança ali até a última volta, mas tudo bem, tem o top qualifying, agora vamos ver se a gente entra, tem mais uma categoria, estamos super animados. E é isso, é a primeira da temporada, tem muito para vir ainda. Obrigado.
Valeu, obrigada. Luque?
We heard there from Antonio Junqueira. Renato Diniz was highlighting the fact that he is new to this sprint championship of Porsche Brazil. He raced once in the endurance championship, but anyway, he was talking about the possibility of going to the top 10. And as you said, actually, I didn't even remember that. It was a good information, Sergio, given the fact that we have 6 cars in the main sprint challenge class, actually. So he will advance alongside Sadak Leite and Ginardi and Gustavo Zanon to the top 10 qualifying session. But that's interesting because we always have in both of the championships, Carrera Cup as well, someone from the lower class in this final part of the qualifying session. We don't have 10 drivers also in the main Carrera Cup class. And it's interesting because from time to time we have one of these sport class drivers. Usually it's quite difficult to see a rookie class driver advancing to the top 10, but anyway, sometimes they are able to fight, at least in terms of qualifying pace with this main class driver. So it's always nice to see, and that's in a way also an opportunity to learn, because of course the level of competitiveness theoretically is quite different. But anyway, Antonio Junqueira, they're happy with his lap time. He said that he was leading until the final stages of the qualifying session. He wasn't that happy that Sadak Leite was able to outperform him, but anyway,
E só uma
a good result
curiosidade,
for Antonio
porque
Junqueira.
a gente
Renata
até
Diniz
postou um
once
vídeo no
more.
Instagram para quem quiser ver a entrevista completa com a Antonella. Uma curiosidade muito bacana, que assim, bacana em termos, né? A irmã dela, na verdade, que é um pouco mais velha, foi fazer uma corrida de kart, bateu o carro e desistiu. Falou, não quero mais. A Antonella tava ali e falou, não, mas eu quero. E por causa da irmã ter batido, hoje ela tá aqui junto com a gente. Curioso.
Yeah, nice story
Eu
there.
acho que sim.
Renata Diniz talking about how Antonella Bassani got passionate about racing, to say the least. Her older sister actually had a crash with go-karting, if I didn't heard it wrong. But anyway, her older sister didn't want to continue racing, but Antonella Bassani got very passionate about racing. There she is, a driver of the Young Driver Academy of Porsche Brazil, that is new in this 2023 championship that we have and we are watching right now. And of course, Antonella Bassani, one of the main sprint challenge class drivers that we see in this moment, Sergio.
We see there Miguel Mariotti. Last year he was in the rookie class. This year he upgraded to the main challenge class. Now it's Josimar Jr. Josimar Jr. who is there. He usually to be the sport class as well, trying to improve his time. And up to this moment, none of these drivers who are on the track did a flying lap. So we're still waiting for them to do their flying laps and see how they fare against the sport class drivers who so far have the best times. The best time so far is from Sadak Leite, 139.113.
Agora sim, realmente você não viu errado, overall, não. É a irmã dela, Pietra. Você então que foi a causadora disso tudo para Antonella estar aqui?
Né, eu comecei andando e, enfim, quando eu tinha 4 anos, gostava, enfim, influência do meu pai, né? E acabei batendo numa árvore, como a Bia já falou. E ela quis tentar e desde então nunca mais parou, né? Mas a gente cresceu nesse meio e acho que não vamos sair muito cedo não, hein?
Tomara que não, né? Apoio total. Cristiano, mostra a sua mão. Ele estava segurando, analisando os tempos aqui, marcando os tempos, tremendo. Esse apoio é fundamental, você sabe disso, né?
Sim, a gente sabe. Nessa hora, eu até nem cheguei para falar com ela, porque ela chegou, pai, eu tô muito nervosa, ela estava ansiada. Eu falei, filha, vai que eu te conheço, eu sei do teu potencial. E vamos ver o que vai dar, mas ela estava muito nervosa agora, pela primeira vez.
E eu vou liberar vocês para irem ali assistir o treino, que eles querem realmente isso. Com vocês aí, Luque.
Yeah, we heard there from Antonella's sister and father, Pietra and Cristiano. Pietra was confirming the story that Renata Diniz brought to us. She actually crashed into a tree, but anyway, her sister was able to get a good career there in go-karts and now with the Porsche cars. And of course, Antonella's father, Cristiano, was talking about how anxious Antonella was prior to this qualifying session. But anyway, nice to see this family environment of the Brazilian Porsche Cup Series as well, Sergio.
Yes, it's very interesting to the family. And Antonella, she might be nervous, but I'm sure she's going to do a good job. She's a professional driver, lots of experience already, 12 years of experience, even though she's only 16 years old. And Marcelo Tomassoni right now is the fastest driver. Christian Moore, who comes back with Porsche number 3, is the second fastest. And there we see Marcelo Tomassoni, very nice livery there, sponsored by Ativa. Great work by Tomassoni, who right now is just 59 tenths, hundreds of a second ahead of Christian Moore. So the difference is not really big between these two drivers. And Urubatan Jr. gets the 4th best time, and Sadak Leite is still 3rd overall. He is from the 4th class. He's 3rd overall, even though we still have 2 minutes and a half to go in this session. So Sadak Leite, really, we see that he had a great effort. And Antonella Bassani at this point is 10th overall. She has a time of 1:40.585.
Yeah, and just to talk about the main drivers of this main sprint challenge class, since now we don't have Raijan Mascarello and Nelson Marcondes, for example, guys to watch are definitely Marcelo Tomassoni and Christian Moore. Of course, we have to wait and see if Antonella Bassani will be able to challenge these guys. But anyway, Christian Moore and Marcelo Tomassoni tends to be a very nice battle. Urubatan Jr. already very experienced in this series as well. And apart from them, Miguel Mariotti and Josimar Jr., even though I believe that this championship tends to be fought between Tomassoni and Christian Moore.
We follow now Urubatan Jr. Urubatan Jr., who is one of the veterans of the Sprint Challenge. He's in 4th overall. Antônio Junqueira is still in 5th. Júnior Dinardi, then Gustavo Zanon, Miguel Mariotti, Malucelli. Bassani is now in 11th. Antonella Bassani. He really has to fight this, being nervous, as she said, but it's very normal for a 16-year-old. Let's see what she can do in these final laps, while we see Urubatan Jr. trying to improve his time. Urubatan Jr. number 1, we are used to follow him in the Porsche Cup C6 Bank MasterCard. And there is Antonella. There is Antonella with Porsche number 72. Very nice paint scheme. We have these onboard images with her. We saw her already. Now we see with the camera doing the pen. And we see she's concentrated there in improving her time. Let's see what she can do. I believe this will be her last chance, or she might even be able to do another flying lap. Let's see how she crosses the line there. And yeah, she's still 11th, so she'll have one more opportunity, Carlos, but she was not able to improve her time.
Yeah, that's a very big challenge for Antonella Bassani, as we have been saying. But anyway, I believe that once she gets rid of this excessive anxiety and the fact that she's too nervous, the lap times will come. And of course, the best way to do this process of getting used to the series and these heavier cars compared to go-karts and so on is racing. And of course, even though she didn't have actually a good qualifying session, it's only natural that she will improve in terms of race pace starting from this around this opener. And let's see if actually she's able to improve in her last attempt. But anyway, she's a highlight independently of her result, Sergio.
Yeah, let's see how she crosses the line. She'll get the checkered flag. No, she stays in 11th overall. So Antonella Bassani is not going to be able to go to the top 10 qualifiers. who will fight for the pole position. This will be Marcelo Tomassoni, then Christian Moore, Sadak Leite, great effort. I still say that, Carlos, because he's fourth class. He was rookie class last year, and now he got the third best time. Then Rubatan Jr. got the fourth best time. Antonio Junqueira also a very good start in his career in the sprint class for the Porsche Cup Brazil, is fifth overall. Júnior Dinardi, Gustavo Zanon, Mariotti, Malucelli, and then in 10th overall is Porsche number 15 of Arthur Ramos, who is also starting in the category. So it's his first year in the category. So it will be a very, very interesting top 10 there, Carlos, going for the pole position.
Yeah, and what a dream start for these newcomers, as you said, Sergio, because of course it's quite challenging to advance into the top 10. Even though we have 6 drivers in the main sprint challenge class, the competitiveness of the sport class is quite big as well. We see that in both of the championships, Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge. But anyway, the expectation for the top 10 qualifying part is very big, especially thinking about this fight story between Marcelo Tomassoni and Christian Moore. So far, so good for Tomassoni, but the gap isn't that big actually in this moment between them. A little bit less than 2 tenths, so it's close, and I believe that they will have even better lap times in the final part of the qualifying session today, Sergio.
Yes, this is Miguel Mariotti. Miguel Mariotti is going to the pole position fight with his Porsche number 21. Car number 5 there is Marcelo Tomassoni, who up to this moment has the fastest time in the sprint challenge category. So he's doing a really, really great effort. And as you mentioned, Carlos, he's one of the drivers who might be fighting for the championship this year alongside with Christian Moore. There you see Moore's car, who had the second best
Só vou
time
te contar
in
quem já tá colado aqui
Interlagos.
na saída de box. Sadak Leite,
Renata.
lógico, e o Carbone não para de falar, não para, tá do lado de fora do carro falando um monte. Desculpa, cortou. O Carbone o quê? Então não para, não para. Sadak, Zanon, Antônio Junqueira, Seba, esses são os carros que já estão aqui colados na saída. Nem pensaram, só vieram.
Yeah, we didn't properly hear the interview there, but Renata was saying that Fabio Carboni, that is Sadak's coach, is quite close to the car there, talking with his driver, and he doesn't stop talking. So the anxiety is also big for the coaches, and we see the start of raining at Interlagos. So I believe that this intensity of rain won't be that I would say a concern, because of course until we have the track wet, it takes a lot of time, and it's quite slight rain there. But anyway, the main concern, I would say, Sergio, is for the races that we have this afternoon. So we have to wait and see how this rain stays, or if it gets worse. Anyway, but so far I believe that it won't be such a big problem.
Yeah, let's wait and see. Let's hope all drivers are able to hit the track while you see Marcelo Tomassoni. Let's see what the organization decides. But for sure, Carlos, if these drivers hit the track, they will have to try, maybe they'll have to try their best time right at the beginning, instead of waiting for the end of the session. As if the rains gets worse, you know, the opportunity for them will be right now and not afterwards. We're still waiting for them to hit the track for this final session. I believe, Carlos, the organization is still deciding what to do regarding the tires, because they were supposed already to be hitting the track at this point in time.
Of course, I'm not specialized in the role of the race director, but I would put the cars on the track as soon as possible. It is what's happening right now. The green flag is already being waved, but it isn't raining that much so that you need to change the tires or anything like that. So, of course, that's also a gamble, to say the least, for the drivers, because they have to get good lap times immediately. So you put the car, sorry, in the track, they fight between themselves, and if the rain gets worse, then you go back to the pit lane. But I believe that's the right decision, Sergio.
Yes, this is Sadak Leite with Porsche number 66. He was the first to hit the track. As you mentioned, Fabio Carboni, his coach, is talked a lot to him. So he might be happy to go to the track, to have some silence there. But Fabio Carboni, he's a great coach. He's a great driver. And I'm sure he gave Sadak Leite lots of good advice. Gustavo Zanon right behind him with the Porsche number 33. Then we have Antonio Junqueira. Let's see what these drivers do. If they try to get their best time now, right now they are warming up their tires. So they have the opportunity, you have 10 minutes as well to do this session to try to have the pole position.
Yeah, and you were talking about Fabio Carboni. I had the opportunity to have a lap in this Porsche cars at Interlagos, and the driver was Fabio Carboni, and I have to say that it was pretty amazing, to be very honest. So, of course, these driver coaches, they suffer alongside their drivers, Sergio.
Yes. And it's important for them. I mean, if the driver wins, if the driver improves, and I believe this is the case with Sadak Leite, that's what we are seeing from last year for sure, that Sadak Leite, I would say it's one of the drivers who most improved in this category. Let's see if he keeps like that, if he goes like that, maybe next year he will move to the main
Luke, você me chamou?
category, or who knows, to the Carrera Cup, but for sure
Eu ia falar isso para vocês.
the good work of
a
his
chuva não
coach.
apertou mais, é
Renata.
como se fosse uma garoa mais forte, posso dizer assim? Intermitente, pronto, o Thiago me ajudou.
Yeah, she was talking about the rain. It's not that slight anymore, but anyway, the drivers are trying to get good lap times there, and the track is not wet. That is the most important thing. Of course, the track tends to get worse and worse, but anyway, the track condition is the same actually to all of the drivers. So that's the same situation actually, Sergio. They have to get good lap time straight away so that they are able to do so before the track gets worse and worse and worse.
We see there Urubatan Jr. before was number 5 from Marcelo Tomassoni. Marcelo Tomassoni was the fastest driver in the first session. This is Christian Moore. Look how he goes wide. Conditions of the track are not easy for sure for these drivers, but they will do the best. Let's see what times they can get. And there, Antonio Junqueira. 3 drivers already had some time. Christian Moore now is the fastest, followed by Junior Dinardi. Antonio Junqueira gets 5th best time. Then Gustavo Zanon, Sadak Leite, and Malucelli. Sabah Malucelli is in the 8th position right now because Christian Moore is fastest so far. Then Marcelo Tomassoni. Carlos, so up to this point, there is an inversion after the session where Marcelo Tomassoni was first and Christian Moore was second. Now we have Christian Moore ahead of Tomassoni.
Yeah, and of course the rain has an impact in that result as well. I'm not saying that if it was the dry condition, Moore wouldn't be ahead, but you can see by the lap times and of course the gap, we have 8 temps between Christian Moore and Marcelo Tomassoni in this moment. So adapting straight away to a new track condition is also a very decisive factor in this moment because of course the track condition is getting worse and worse and worse because of the rain, even though it isn't raining that much. But anyway, the experience that these guys have in wet conditions will also be very important. Thinking about the whole weekend, because it's quite possible, to say the least, that we have rain in the races today as well, Sergio. So it would be nice to see, not just in the Sprint Challenge Championship, but also in the Carrera Cup Championship.
Yeah, and São Paulo is known for its afternoon showers. I just hope that even if there is rain, Carlos, it's not a rain as heavy as there was yesterday in São Paulo, which is very common at this time of the year to have heavy rains in the afternoon and late afternoon. So let's hope it doesn't happen today. There is Marcelo Tomassoni right now. He got a better time than Christian Moore, so he's back on the top of the charts. Christian Moore is second fastest, followed by Urubatan Jr. and then Junior Dinardi in fourth, with Antonio Junqueira in fifth. So great effort by Antonio Junqueira. He has 148.71. He's just a little bit over 1/10 of a second behind Junior Dinardi.
Just talking a bit about the rain in Sao Paulo, Sergio. Generally, we have heavy rains in the final part of the afternoon. So, talking about local time, we have races scheduled for 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. Yeah, a little bit later actually. But anyway, I believe that even if it rains, the possibility of the races going on in the scheduled time is quite big, as we saw one car spinning there. I didn't see who it was, Sergio.
Yes. Yeah, the first race is scheduled. Our transmission will start about 1 p.m. local time, which will be 4 p.m. GMT or 10 or 11 a.m. U.S. Standard Time. And then the second race, the challenge, sprint challenge race, is scheduled to start about 2:40 p.m. Brazilian local time. There you see the cars. Still Marcelo Tomassoni is ahead of the pack with Christian Moore. Actually, Urubatan Jr. is second at this point with the Porsche number 1. Christian Moore is third with Porsche number 3. So these are the times so far, with Miguel Mariotti fourth and Junior Dinardi fifth. Antonio Junqueira fell to fifth position, but we still have 2 minutes to go, 2 minutes until the checkered flag. Many drivers are still able to do a flying lap right. They cross the line right before the 10-minute mark. So nothing is decided yet. But we see one interesting thing we see, Carlos, is that the top four, Urubatan Jr., it looks like Urubatan Jr. went off track. Let's see if it's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Urubatan Jr. You see him going off track. And
I don't believe it was because of the rain or anything like that. It seems that he lost control of the car, even though we are starting to see drivers struggling with grip. We saw there with Antonio Junqueira in the previous replay.
And as I was going to say, Carlos, now we see the top 4 drivers are from the main sprint challenge category, and the other ones, from 5th to 10th, are all from the sport class. And look at again what happened to Sadak Leite. Also lost a little bit. He went a little bit off track there. He got and he wasn't able to keep his car on the track. Right now, he is in the 9th position overall in this session.
Yeah, and that might have been at least partially because of the rain, because he stepped there in the curb, and now with the wet curb, he might have lost the grip because of that. But anyway, good qualifying session for Sadak Leite, even though in this final top 10 part of the quali, he isn't that fast. Only P9 in this moment, as we see Josimar Jr. Junior Dinardi, sorry. Yeah, struggling a bit there. Josimar Jr. actually didn't advance into the top 10. He is one of the 2 drivers of the main sprint challenge class. that didn't advance alongside Antonella Bassani. But Gennady struggling a bit, even though he is the provisional pole of the sport class in this Sprint Challenge Championship, Sergio.
Yeah, we see Antonio Junqueira trying to improve his time. This is the pole position so far. Marcelo Tomassoni is already preparing to go to the pits. All the drivers are getting the checkered flag. And Christian Moore just got the checkered flag with Porsche number 3. He's going to be third overall, so he will start in the second row, probably alongside Miguel Mariotti. Antonio Junqueira already got the checkered flag. He's 6th overall. Tomassoni goes to the pits. He is going to be the pole position. Doubt anyone will take this from him. Let's see. Yes, Junior Dinardi is 5th, Malucelli 7th, Sadak Late 8th, Gustavo Zanon. So Marcelo Tomassoni, Carlos, will get the pole position. Oh, another. And this
That's
was
a replay.
Junior Dinardi. Oh, that's a replay, yes. That's a replay, you're right. That's Junior Dinardi again showing what happened to him. And Marcelo Tomassoni will be the pole position for the race this afternoon. He will start alongside Urubatan Jr., the first row for the Sprint Challenge race, the first race this year that will be following here this afternoon, this Saturday afternoon here.
Yeah, and of course his pit crew, they're celebrating a lot, and we have to praise all of these drivers actually, because the track condition was quite tricky. We saw there in the previous image of the Interlagos track that the camera lens was already a bit wet, so of course it was challenging for the drivers adapting to this new track condition, and it was especially interesting for Marcelo Tomassoni because Christian Moore started this final part of the qualifying session ahead, but Marcelo Tomassoni was able to take this lead once more, and with an interesting gap there, even though his lap time in this final part of the qualifying session wasn't faster than the time that he set in the qualifying part that had only the sprint challenge main class drivers. So of course that's something that is natural because of the track conditions, but anyway, we have to praise Marcelo Tomassoni. That's definitely a session to celebrate for the driver and his pit crew. Sergio.
Yes, top 10 are going to be Marcelo Tomassoni, Urubatan Jr., Christian Moore, Miguel Mariatti, Junior Dinardi, Antonio Junqueira, then Sabah Malucelli, Sadak Leite, Gustavo Zanon, and then in 10th we will have Arthur Ramos commemorating his pole position. Marcelo Tomassoni, well deserved, like you said, Carlos, and he's going to fight for the championship this year for sure. This is going to be one of the drivers that will be paying lots of attention in 2023.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw there that he was greeted by Nelsinho Marcondes, that is a former driver of the main sprint challenge class in this championship. He was actually runner-up, if I'm not wrong, last year, so now advancing and going to a higher level in the main Carreira Cup Championship.
Uau, que classificação.
Let's hear there from Marcelo Tomassoni.
No top 10 a gente não sabia, chovia mais aqui no S do que lá embaixo. E aqui é uma freada que a gente tem que ir testando o limite. A primeira volta do top 10 freio onde eu tinha freado no Q1, passou um pouquinho, o pneu esquentou um pouquinho, foi demais essa classificação. Feliz demais por ter dado certo. Gris e Lucas trabalharam muito, a gente desde quinta trabalhando e vamos para hoje à tarde aí tentar executar o que a gente vem fazendo.
Tá só começando, né, Marcelo?
É isso aí.
E que a chuva tá apertando e que ela não venha com tudo, né?
Ou que venha de vez ou que não venha, né? Tá bom.
Obrigada, parabéns. Luque.
Yeah, they were talking about the rain as well. It seems that it's getting a little bit stronger, the rain in this moment. But anyway, Marcelo Tomassoni was talking about the extra challenge that the rain put to the drivers, of course, especially in terms of braking points. He was talking about the Senna SS And of course, in the Senna S's, you have to go closer and closer to the limit in every single attempt. So in this first attempt that he had in the final part of the qualifying session, he tried to brake in the same spot that he braked in the previous qualifying part. So actually he went a bit wide, and then he was able to correct his braking point before the Senna S's and throughout the whole track in order to have this lap time and claim pole position. Sergio.
Yeah, and he said one very important thing at the very end, Carlos, that either the rain comes fully or it doesn't come, because the worst thing for the driver is to have this situation that it rains in one part of the track, doesn't rain in the other, the rain comes and goes. So that makes very, very challenging for the drivers. If there is rain overall, it's fine. They have wet conditions and they will fight this way for the best position. Race this afternoon will be at 1 p.m. Brazilian time, 4 p.m. GMT, or 11 a.m. U.S. Eastern time. I'll be here with Carlos Costa, and we should expect very good racing. Carlos, thank you very much, everybody for you that were with us, and we'll see you later this Saturday. Thank you.
Bye-bye.